Okay, so as I mentioned previously, for your kicks, we're gonna do them in two different stances in the beginning. The first stance that we're gonna do it in is called a side stance. We do it in a side stance on purpose just to make it a little bit easier, especially those that are still developing their coordination. Then we do it in a front stance, which is what it should be done in, at least for a Shotokan person, okay? So we're in our side stance. Think of a horse stance, turn to the side, there's your side stance, okay? So the first one is known as Kisame Mawashi Geri, or a roundhouse kick with the leg in the front, okay? So in this instance, it's gonna be my left leg. When I do this, there's a couple different parts of the leg that we actually make contact with. And we do it on purpose that way. The first way to do it is actually very basic, but not very practical. The second way that we do it is more for close contact, but it's harder for younger students to apply it. And the third way is the most effective way, however, it's the hardest way to do it, okay? So the first point of contact that we're gonna make right now is actually the instep. So if you could think of a ballerina, how they point their toes and they point their foot, the instep is the top of the foot, okay? So if I could think, I have a target right here to the side, I'm going to kick across that target. So pretend like somebody's holding a board or something like that, and I have to, boom, break that board. Or, you know, I'm facing my partner right here and they're just gonna come and kick my stomach, right? So I'm right here and they're like, okay, bam, there's your stomach, okay? So for your Kisame Washigiri, we'll break it down into steps. Step one, go ahead and point the knee at your target, okay? So my knee is literally pointing in the front, my foot's cocked back and pulled back, okay? Step two, I swing my leg across. I bend it back, and I drop back down again. So right here, boom, 1, 2, okay? Now, as I mentioned, that would be done with the instep. Now, as you guys start sparring, you're gonna realize when you kick like that, and you point your foot and you kick with the instep, if I kick to somebody's body, it's gonna be easy for them to drop their elbow right on the top of my foot. That hurts, okay? So, typically, if I'm going to kick above your waist, I'm not gonna kick with my instep. I'm actually going to kick with the ball of my foot. So that's the hardest way that I was talking about, but it's the most effective. The reason why it's the most effective, so the ball of the foot has a much smaller surface area than the instep. Now we understand that the smaller the surface area, the greater the pressure, right? So instead of it feeling like a slap against your stomach, if I can use the ball of my foot and curl my toes back, it's gonna feel like a cannonball just got hit into your stomach, which is a big difference in feeling. So then as they get better, they point those toes back toward them and they use the ball of their foot to hit the target, okay? Now for the tiny tigers, the little dragons, even the youth, I'm totally fine with them pointing their foot. They just need to understand the risks that are that go along with it, okay? Now, from a fighting perspective, not necessarily practicing curriculum, if I'm gonna kick below the hip, like to the thigh, I'm actually gonna use my shin. And the part of the shin that I use is right here, okay? This part. So maybe starting 4 fingers up from the ankle, about maybe 8 or so inches of that shin, right? At least for an adult. So you're not using the entire shin. You're definitely not using this little funny bone right here. And you're also not using your ankle. You're definitely using this part of the shin. The Thais believe that that's supposed to be like the strongest part of the shin, of the leg. So which is why in Thai boxing or Muay Thai, that's the part of the leg they use to kick for a roundhouse. So if I'm kicking to somebody's thigh, I'm using that part of my leg, just kind of whip, okay? For the students, all they need to practice is 1, 2, 3, and then do the other side. Now, we're gonna move into Mawashi Geri, back leg roundhouse. So a normal roundhouse kick. Same idea. I'm gonna actually have my hand out here with my elbow up. and I'm going to bring my knee, my back leg up, and I'm going to touch my elbow like this. So I come 1. Now as I do that, I'm not sure if you guys can see, but my front foot actually opens up and turns towards you. So if I'm kicking you, my front foot is going to turn toward you, my back leg is going to come up to my elbow, then I'm going to finish twisting by twisting my front foot so that my heel is pointing towards you. And that swings me all the way around. So you don't want to just swing the leg, because ideally, this is my left leg, ideally the heel of my left leg is facing you. See how my heel is facing the camera? Is facing you, and that's a really good indicator to show that, okay, I did turn enough, because if I don't turn that foot, especially for the adults, you're gonna feel a very sharp rip in your knee, and that hurts. So we just tell the students, okay, make sure you're turning all the way, turn that foot, swing around. So as I do step 1, 2, 3, and then I land, there I go. Just make sure that that knee is pointing towards your target, and you're kicking it again across, swinging across and hitting to somebody's stomach or something around that area. Now, we did mention that easily done in a side stance, then we move into a front stance, okay? So we're gonna hold off on the third kick right now, and I'm gonna show you the first 2 in a front stance. This kick is all about whipping action, right? Circular motions like a whip, okay? So imagine you got your whip and you're coming across, right? So same thing, now that I'm in a front stance, I'm gonna do Kisame Washigeri. Got my left leg in the front, I bring my knee up. Right now my knee is pointing up, not to the side. I'm going to twist my back leg and whip the kick. Boom. 1. I end up landing in a side stance, and I go back to a front stance. 1. And I adjust. 1. Now notice that this back leg, it doesn't stay planted, it twists with me. And I actually push from this back leg to throw the kick. So I'm not trying to kick super hard with my kicking leg. I'm actually just trying to push from my base leg into the ground so that I can push my body and twist my body. Now with the back leg roundhouse, the normal roundhouse kick, done with the back leg, same idea, push into the ground, twist. Push into the ground, twist. So I fully expect students to practice both done in a side stance and in a front stance. Okay, moving on. Ashi warai. Ashi means foot, barai is a sweep. So you're literally sweeping a foot, okay? We'll typically do this in a front stance, nice and easy. And if you're doing it solo, what you're doing is you're gonna take your back leg, you're gonna keep the ball of your foot on the ground, and your heel's gonna raise like this, and raise it. I'm gonna end up swinging my body, twisting my body, and I'm hooking somebody's foot right now. And then I pull to sweep. So if I do it live motion, here. So let me get something to help you guys see a little bit better. Imagine this right here is somebody's leg, right? I come across and I lift my heel up, but I keep the ball of my foot on the ground. And the reason being is because now I have contact on my shin and contact on the instep of my leg or of my foot. So that's 2 points of contact creating more leverage, right? So I swing across and I actually pull in toward me this way because it's much easier to squeeze into your body than it is to kick out. You have a lot more control pulling in than kicking outward, okay? So a lot of students have a bow, other students have brothers or sisters or friends that they can work on. I would recommend holding onto your friend's wrist and holding onto their shoulder. So pretend this is their shoulder and this is their ankle. Now I'm holding onto their wrist. I come across, I hook their leg, I'm holding onto their shoulder. I've hooked their foot, I'm holding onto their wrist. I pull in and I can gently guide them down to the ground. That helps out a lot more so you guys are being safe at home, okay? So when done in a live version and when you're practicing by yourself, it looks like this. 1, 2, and I'm not like dragging my foot on the ground the entire time. It's just slightly coming up, right? Like literally like my foot comes up like that much off of the ground, right? So that way I can still like be connected to the ground and I'm not kicking up to their knee, but I'm sweeping their ankle. And that's it for your kicks.